Welcome back to Finnegan's Garage. This is part 2 of the ramp truck Cummins diesel swap. Sorry we're a little late. Cummins.
Big-Block delete.
Big-Block delete, yeah. We are finally doing this. It has been, I think, 3 or 4 months since you guys were here. You were here in January. It was very cold.
Yeah, hot now, hot and humid.
Very hot, very humid. I wanted you to taste Georgia, really taste it. Get the snow cone, in the winter.
What about the Georgia peaches? I haven't seen any of those. Where are the peaches?
They're like 2 streets over. Better neighborhood. Yeah. So this time we are going to finally make the truck run. We are going to wire it. We're going to finish the plumbing. We may patch the giant hole in the floor and the transmission tunnel and the firewall. We may, I don't know, we may do some burnouts. All those well. Yeah, a lot to do. But before we get to that, I have a surprise for you. We are giving stuff away once again. That's right. Everything you see on this table, which is everything you need to wire and plumb your hot rod or mini truck, whatever project you've got, I'm going to give it to you. This all came from wirecare.com. Those guys love the Finnegan's Garage audience so much they wanted you to have all of this. This is $2,500 worth of tools and supplies. Check this out. You have the world's greatest hairdryer, which is also good for melting shrink tubing, things like that. You have the greatest crimper ever. Look at this. You could crimp wiring and connectors for your house or your hot rod. This is good for battery cables. It's a hydraulic crimper. Thing works amazing. We'll show you how it works a little later in the show. And Brian, if you want to come over here, let me show you what's behind door number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here we go. Door number 1. Not only do you get this case, you get everything that's in it. Ratcheting crimpers from Pressmaster, which is awesome. And a plethora of butt connections and ring terminals. Everything from the smallest wire going to, say, your ignition coil on up to your battery cables. It's in here. And when you run out, you can reorder using the part numbers. Thank you, WireCare. Drawer number 2. Fragola high-performance aluminum AN fittings. Everything you need, including the wrenches to plumb your hot rod or your mini truck. Drawer number 3. ShrinkFlex. This stuff is from TechFlex. It's amazing. Here's a visual representation. This has a 3-to-1 heat shrink ratio. This has a 4-to-1 heat shrink ratio. What does that mean? If it's that big in diameter, when you heat it up, it will go that small. So if you have a big connector you want to cover the end of and just one wire, this will do the job. Cool, right? And these right here, power grip clamps. Believe it or not, that is a clamp for a radiator hose or heater hose. You just slide it on, get it hot with the heat shrink gun, and there, your radiator hose is locked in place. No unsightly clamps if you're not into that sort of thing. These are awesome, and you just cut them back off. You can't reuse them. It's not that sort of deal. But if you're like a show car guy or you just want to be different, power grip clamps. Pretty cool. We have got more cool stuff. Safety wire pliers. These work really well. Scissors for cutting, stuff for covering wires, stuff like that. Braided stuff without fraying it. This stuff's pretty cool. Also works good for cutting this. Also works good for cutting this. Awesome. And our last drawer. Probably one of my favorite. Deutsch connectors. These things are amazing. Pretty easy to assemble, totally weather tight. And they don't vibrate loose, which is awesome. And it comes with the tools to both crimp the terminals and remove the terminals, because these things are reusable, which is nice. Last but not least, the world's greatest hairdryer from Steinel. This heat gun is amazing. And it has a lot of different uses for hot rod building, most of which I'm unaware of. I just use it for, heat shrink. One day I'll read the instructions though, and we'll figure out what else it does.
We've used one of those to start a big power Cummins when it was like really cold.
Over the heater grid?
We blew it right in the intake because we didn't have heater grid on the race truck, and it totally fired up.
Really?
It's a gimmick to turn off, hot air in there.
Just keeps getting better and better. This entire setup could be yours. This is $2,500 worth of tools and supplies from wirecare.com. I'm going to give this away in 2 weeks. I don't know what day I'm uploading this video, so I can't tell you 2 weeks from, Christmas. But 2 weeks from whenever this video goes live, I will choose a winner. Okay? And the way you win is comment. Right below this video, go in the comments, tell me what do you have in the garage, or what do you want to have in your garage, and why you need this stuff to build it. Whoever tugs at my heartstrings or makes me laugh probably wins. Yeah, that's how it's gonna work. Yeah, tug at my heartstrings or make me laugh. I'll choose my favorite comment. I promise I'll read them all, and you will win all of this stuff. Cool?
Cool.
We'll make a truck.
Really cool. This is freaking sweet. This is honestly, this is awesome.
Let's
I'm
get your truck
totally
on.
jealous.
Yeah, well, we're gonna use this to wire my truck. So you're gonna get a very similar setup to this. You're not gonna get this because we're gonna use this right now to wire my truck. All right. Okay, so let's recap where we left off. It's episode 47. We're going to take all of these speed parts, bolt them onto the outside of this old Cummins engine, stab it in that Ram truck, and go do burnouts. That engine, that trans, those are locked in place. We have the stock radiator, shroud, overflow bottle, intercooler, it's all in there, and all of the plumbing fits, even the upper and lower radiator hoses. So now all we really got to do is make the transmission shift, the fuel system work, some wiring. That'll be it here. Over the last 3 months, I didn't just totally sit on my ass. I did get stuff together. You notice the front end of the truck is completely assembled permanent-like. And our stock Dodge intercooler is in there. It's mounted. No, the AC condenser that originally came in the truck, that's gone. But I have a plan for that later. So this is together. Last time you were here, we began working on the hot side and cold side. The cold side is done, all of it, including the nifty air filter right here, going from that aluminum tube. I cut a hole in the core support so fresh air can go into the front of the filter. So what's left now is the exhaust, the gauges, the firewall, boost controller stuff, all the fun stuff is what we're down to. So, but I think all the hard stuff is done. So why did it take you 3 months to show back up? I've been waiting to do the end, the fun part, and also the complicated part. I have no idea how all the plumbing works for the AFC and none of that stuff. So I've literally been sitting on my ass waiting on you guys, not the other way around.
Right. We apologize greatly for the delay of this episode.
Shame on you.
We have been a little busy.
Apologize to them. That's who
Sorry.
you're hurting.
I do not mean to cause pain.
But actually, it was my pain because every time I posted something up, all I would hear in the comments was, "Where the hell is the Ram truck?" And it wasn't their fault, but still, what have you been doing?
We have been really busy. We have a Super Bowl of diesel competition that we had to get prepared and compete in. That's called the Ultimate Call-Out Challenge. And that happened in 1st of May.
Okay.
And usually, it's not a big problem, but we blew up 3 engines getting ready for it, and we went to the competition and split the block and had to rebuild that overnight. And
You broke the engine in half.
pretty much, yeah. We even had LA sleeve liners in there. We broke right through all that stuff. Concrete block, split it.
You're making some. Tell me there's video of this.
Oh, it's all there. I mean,
Is it on your channel?
yeah, if you go to YouTube, Powerdriven Diesel, our channel, Trials and Triumph. We call it Trials and Triumph. There's 2-part series where we go over the broken engine, the split block, overnight rebuild in our trailer.
What's this one called now? This is called the Get Crap Done So We Can Continue in the Competition engine.
You're going back the next day, making 1,800 horsepower on a junk motor.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. It was a lot of fun, a lot of time. So we've been really busy. I want to get back out here. Event's over. Schedules work. We're back.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch that trial. We're not gonna have that with mine.
We're not splitting your block. No,
Okay,
we're not
good.
quite that way.
We're hoping to put 3 turbos on here at some point, and maybe we can get there. But that's when the ramp truck is going for that 10-second quarter-mile pass.
Dude, if the Ram truck would run 10 with 3 turbos, I'd do it. Build the exhaust system, gauges, charging system, starter wiring, and
What about getting the tranny column linkage up to the ship?
done.
Done. You got it figured out.
Yeah, I did actually. Craig
I was
did-
nervous. I was like, I don't know how he's going to do it.
Oh, look under there. It's amazing. And you know what's cool is the Chevrolet throttle linkage, right? Bolts
right
up. It's exactly the same. He took everything that was out of that Dodge truck and just put it right.
It clipped in the thing exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It went right in.
Sweet.
The only thing about it is like we may have to shorten the cable a little bit because I don't know if it's getting.
Full throttle of
Yeah.
the tranny.
What you definitely
Yeah, we-
want. Oh, for your TV lever, you're talking about the tranny lever or full throttle on the throttle, on the actual
Throttle.
pump?
So the engine took, what, 10 or 11 quarts of oil? What does the trans take?
Usually 16 with that deep pan.
16. Wow.
But there's one in the converter we already put, and then usually we put 12 more in there because that'll get it up near the vent, and then you start it and it fills the converter the rest of the way in the cooler lines. Then when it's idling neutral, we'll top it off.
Okay.
So we always tell people just put one case in. Otherwise, you'll put a little on the floor and think there's something wrong with your new tranny. But there's a vent in the bell housing at the top of the pump.
This is a huge moment right now because this truck's never had diesel in it. And we had to make a few changes to make this possible, right? First off, I bought a filler neck off of Amazon.com for a late model Ford truck with a diesel. It's a wider neck, it's got a green cap, it locks. That drops down straight, and then I bought a brand new stock saddle tank for this truck and welded a wider filler neck bung onto it, capped off a port we didn't need, and then mounted that in the truck and ran all new fuel lines up to the 12 valve. And this is the first 5 gallons ever of diesel put in our truck, and what this means is we are really close to starting this thing. Really close. Are we doing this tonight?
Yes.
We're doing this tonight, apparently.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't buy this for nothing.
Dave says we're doing this tonight.
So a quick update, we're getting very close to turning this thing over. In order to save us a bunch of hand priming on the primer on the lift pump, we're going to cheat a little bit. We're going to pressurize the fuel tank with some air, compressed air, and a gun, and we're going to try to push the fuel through all this crazy long line from this long truck to the lift pump, so we don't have to hand prime that. After that, we'll prime it the rest of the way and start it up. So if you're putting in a new fuel system, save yourself a bunch of time, plunge in a plunger, pressurize your fuel tank.
Okay, so we're going to pinch off the return line because when you pressurize the tank, fuel can come back up the return line, and we want fuel to come up the feed line. And by pinching the return line, then it'll come here with the return line cracked open. We'll prime the whole system. Okay, we're good.
I don't know how many months it's been, but we are about to light the Cummins off right now.
Okay, is everybody clear?
And there's no exhaust system on it. My kids are directly above us sleeping, and my wife is right there, also sleeping, because it's 1:45 in the morning in Georgia. When else would we do this? All right, go ahead, I guess. I got 30 seconds.
Fan just turned off, so it quieted down.
Exhaust, gauges, bolt the seats in, do burnouts, I think. Tomorrow. Wow. It's pretty snappy.
We timed it good, so it wouldn't.
So these are 4-inch diameter 308 stainless steel tubing from stainlessheaders.com. Our exhaust is going to come out of your guys' manifold, and it's going to step from, I think, 3.5 to this. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to go straight down the frame rail with it, up and over the axle, and then dump it out the side. And our turbos will be our mufflers. Mm-hmm. 2 of them, so you know it's going to be quiet.
Straight pipe.
So on this exhaust system, we decided to go up and over through the section here so we can use this Dodge mount. This is an exhaust bracket off the Dodge truck we stole, so we're going to use this bracket and just run the exhaust right down the frame rail here. We're 3.5 inch out here. We're going to adapt to 4 inch right about here and run it down the truck.
Plug them in.
right now I'm still working on the exhaust, and I want to give you a quick tech tip. I'm welding V-bend flanges. This is such a long exhaust. We're making sections so we can bolt in and out with a V-bend flange. You may notice I'm welding this with the clamp on this. I have both sides of the flange here. The reason why is when you weld them, these things will warp like crazy because all the heat will just pull them up and they'll warp. And if you warp, they're not going to seal worth a crap. So you got to do something to hold them together. A very simple thing to do is simply clamp both halves together. Then you can weld it, let it cool off before you let the tension off. And your flanges will stay straight. They won't leak on you.
All right, check it out. Right now I want you to ignore the sound of the dishwasher upstairs because we're in the basement and focus on this piece of art. Look at that. This is our downpipe from our turbo to the first V-band clamp. We have two or three?
3 sections, 2 clamps.
Right, so we have the world's longest stainless steel 4-inch exhaust, I think. And Todd set it up and welded it so that it drops sections of it to get it out of the truck, which is awesome. And right now we've got some sleeving from wirecare.com. We're going to wrap a significant portion of this where it goes to the firewall, under the floorboard, past the trans. This whole area is basically where your feet and body are going to be. So we're going to wrap this and try to keep the temps down a little bit. Why is it wet?
When I wrap stuff, I found if I get this stuff wet, you can, for one, it's a lot easier to put on, and you can get a lot tighter. When it dries, it'll shrink a little bit, and it'll really give you a nice finished look tight. If you do it dry, sometimes it's hard to get it tight. It's like there's little gaps and things like that, little wrinkles. You just get a little bit wet, put it on nice and tight, clamp it down. When it dries, it'll look awesome.
Todd's letting the video tell Mike he's wrong instead of telling Mike he's wrong.
No, that's not what happened.
Don't happen at all.
No.
Okay, now don't go this way. It goes that way.
That's our discussion. We've been to, don't
wrong.
Bad.
No, it goes this way.
No, just on the
You're
video we
tensioning
just
this.
said.
That's what we just said. You don't tension that
You
yet.
keep going.
That was our whole
Okay.
discussion. Split the wires. There's the split we're talking about. Grab those, somebody.
Oh, yeah, this
Come
does-
through.
Back
this
through.
does make
Go
sense.
back through the
Come
loop.
through. Okay, now we're on the path, man.
Go between the legs. Split the 2 wire legs apart. Right there. There.
Open
And
it up.
insert the
Okay,
tip there.
she was putting all this together before she did that. She was making sure these, like this one's all spread apart. Hold on, guys. Hold on. It's not even on the wrap. You're getting ahead of yourself. This is what she did, and this is why she did it, I guess. There we go.
The top outside. Come up.
And then you put 'em
Twist the
together.
tails together. Really tight. This is the tension point.
Yes,
That's what she said.
it's true. She said that.
Now slide the nut up.
She did say that.
She said, now slide the nut up, and the tool's adjusted wrong, so I won't be able to slide the nut up.
So I went that up.
Yeah, that's right.
Never intentional, sucker.
So you leave it spreading apart.
She said, oh, now as it goes, you gotta really get these straight. It's really important if you have a barb fitting or a hose that you're trying to keep them, aligned.
She did say that. You're just quoting the
We
video
have a
now.
cross over here somehow. I'm not sure where it happened.
It's fine.
That's probably Will's fault. Go ahead.
Just send it.
Do it for Dale.
The most overused saying in the internet. Just do it.
Larry would do it.
Just send it.
Do it for Hammer Beat.
I know that is getting tight and awesome.
Why haven't the
I don't know how tight you
Hooligans
wanna go.
had snowmobile?
Then
What's
she
his
said
name on?
rotate it over.
Who's Snowmobile?
That's where the Just Send It guy came from.
Oh, Larry?
So you rotate it over. She says we did that.
Yep, and then you loosen it and you chop it off quarter
Mhm.
inch. Look what we did.
Okay, we've got some choppers. We'll
chop
call
it.
them.
No, that's only for plastic.
Thank you.
It'll never go through it. Those are zip tie choppers.
Got it.
Tools are specially made by Klein Tools, an electrical
should
tool
fold them
specialty
over.
maker.
Okay, now let's get our other wrap and go the rest of the way because this is right under the seat and stuff.
Another wrap. Exhaust is done. This is the single biggest exhaust system I've ever seen or been a part of. Every piece is huge. It's gonna be 100 feet long or something like that. Feels like it. Feels like it's 100 feet long. But it's done.
It's at least 100 feet long.
We've got the trans controller. We have the turbo tuner, which I don't know what that does. And then this is the AFC, right?
AFC Live.
So this is for boost, this is for fuel?
This gives you your in-cab control of fuel and boost, yeah. So with the AFC Live, the cool thing about that is this truck is mechanical. There's no chip. Right? Everybody says, well, you got a chip on your diesel.
Yeah.
There's not one for this.
Right.
So you can't, you can tune this, but you can't, while you're driving down the road, change from a tow tune to a hot rod tune to change any of that stuff. You have to get out, pop your hood, take off your AFC housing, take some bolts out, slide some stuff, adjust your spring, put it back, and that's how you adjust your tune.
Okay.
Okay? And so with this, we've hijacked what what Cummins gave us, the AFC housing, and we can control it to increase or decrease your maximum power from inside the cab, and which gives you total EGT control. When you're towing, you can mash it and have it limit your EGT to wherever you want.
Okay.
And then we can also control how fast the fuel advances relative to boost.
Okay.
A lot of times people advance the fuel way faster than boost. You have a big bunch of black smoke, the turbo lights, and the black smoke goes away.
Right.
Because then the ratios are right. So that means your fuel's advancing way faster than your boost is. So with this, we can control, and get that pretty close to, to advance that. And then that switch on the side is so when you have that switch up towards the gauge, that means you can tune it. Okay, you can tune wherever you want. So let's say if it's tuned nice and clean and fun to go on the street, then your buddy pulls up next to you, you flip that switch down, maxes out everything, full power. And then so you go, you race, and then when you flip it back, it's like back to your tune. And on the dyno, what you do is you get your turbo spooled up, and you flip the switch, and it mimics a nitrous. I mean, it just jumps straight up like a nitrous shot.
And so there's not fuel in this, right?
No,
this
that's air. It's pneumatic.
Okay, it's pneumatic. Okay, good.
We're
So
using-
no
we're-
fuel in the cab.
You don't feel in the cab. No.
Good.
So now the turbo tuner does the same thing for the turbo.
Okay.
So this is basically a boost controller for diesels. The problem with your typical boost controller from a gasoline application is that they have a leak. They have an external leak. And that's fine in a gas car because when you're cruising around, you're not under boost. In this truck, you will pretty much always be under boost 100% of the time,
Okay.
which means that hole's going to be whistling at you the whole time. Very annoying
Right.
because it's psst
Yeah.
all the time. So this has no external leaks. It's all self-contained. And so this what this does is the way a wastegate works is pressure is applied to it, and as pressure is applied, it opens up the valve. Simple internal wastegate. And so what happens is as pressure climbs there, you start losing spring tension, and the exhaust pressure will actually open the valve.
Right.
And so there's lots of tuning you can do to the rod and to tighten the spring, all that kind of stuff. What this does is it stops all pressure from getting to the wastegate head until a certain point. Then it rises 1 to 1. So let's say, for instance, that gets pressure at 20 psi. You allow pressure through at 20 psi. So at 21 psi, your wastegate head sees 1 psi.
Okay.
And at 22, it sees 2. It goes from there. So what that does is it doesn't allow the wastegate to open early, which gives you better throttle response. And then we can control, on a compound setup, we can control how much each turbo is working. So if we bypass the small one more, the big turbo does more work. If we bypass it less, the little one does more work.
Wow. Yeah. Some wiring, some mounting, some plumbing. Build an exhaust system, and we can probably go road test this thing tomorrow.
Burnouts.
Burnouts. So right now I'm building a switch panel, and this is going to hide the stock radio location, which is virtually useless in the truck because when you put it in drive, the shifter is pretty much obstructing your view from that radio. So later on, we'll put a radio somewhere else. For now, this switch panel is going to fill the hole, and we're going to put all of our cool gizmos that these guys at Powerdriven Diesel have sent me. And normally I'd be cutting this in my handy-dandy bandsaw poorly, but not today. Look, stomp shear, straight from Miller Brothers. This thing will go through this aluminum like butter, and I'll have this panel done in no time. What we're gonna do is trace the outline of our template, and then shove it right up against the guard here, go to the end, then Goodbye. Look at that. Awesome. That's 20 gauge aluminum. Goes through that pretty easily. I love cool tools. The rounded parts, I'm just gonna square off right now. Shear, and then I'll trim the rest of it and make it round with either a pair of tin snips or at that point I can use the vertical bandsaw pretty easily. This bezel has already been cut for an aftermarket radio. Normally there'd be 2 holes here, one there for the knobs of the 2-shaft radio. It's already cut out and gives us a lot of real estate to put stuff in. So I think we're gonna put the bulk of our gadgets right in here.
Did you label them?
Yeah, they're not labeled, but I got them. I got blue tape, tape only, no tape, and tape with blue tube tape to it. And I know what they are.
I'm glad you do, because I don't. All right, I'll put the switches and the button in.
We know they are.
All right, so we're changing the gauges for a couple of reasons. First off, Classic Instruments put the Finnegan Speed and Marine logo in there, so what better reason, to change your gauges than that?
This doesn't even say Chevy. I mean, this is basically crap.
Yeah, that's bunk, dude. Total bunk. They also changed the tack range to top at 4,000, which is more diesel appropriate.
This goes to 5,000.
Yeah, gas motor, more RPM. Bumped the mile an hour up to 120, which is really optimistic because this truck does not go around corners. Don't worry about that. That's just natural shop stuff, noises. This truck does not go around corners very well, so 120 mile an hour speedo. Even at the drag strip, even at the drag strip, this is 8,500, 9,000 pounds. Is this ever gonna get near 120 in a quarter of a mile?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
If you stay in it for a whole mile, it'll get there.
If I stayed in it for a whole mile, then in a quarter of a mile or a mile and a quarter, we can
Well,
get
you
to
start the
120.
quarter mile. It's like a rolling start quarter mile. You start the quarter mile at 60, maybe even 80. You might get to 120.
You diesel guys have weird rules for racing. Okay. And then we have the standard temp, fuel. We changed the amp gauge to a volt gauge and oil pressure, and our oil pressure is now 100.
Instead of 60, because 60 is weak. That's Big-Block Chevy pressure. This Cummins is going to be maybe 75 or 80 on a cold idle with cold oil.
You just called out so many people. And I never knew how many miles were on this truck to begin with, so we're starting from 1.4, which is fine. Updates. Let's flip that around. Printed board with all the lights. These are kind of finicky. Mechanical oil pressure gauge, which leaked one time, and that was one time too many on the carpet. This is all electric, so this has provisions for vehicle speed sensor for your speedometer. We're going to use our HDM Electronics transmission controller to provide the speedo signal for this. This has a 0 to 5 volt output, so you can monitor pressure transducers instead of the regular 12 volt sensors for oil pressure, water temp, that sort of thing.
So that CompuShift harness has given us a lead for that speedo sensor.
Yeah. Simple to wire, bolts right into place into 73 to 87 square body Chevy trucks, which is nice. And
God, forgot one more mod. Weight savings.
Yeah, look at
this might get you in the 13s. This extra 10 pounds,
can you imagine
that would have held you back in the 14s.
The one question I have is, we went from a 3-speed to a 4-speed trans. Our shift indicator obviously isn't going to work with our 4-speed trans, but how would you...
It would have actually. It does. We can hold it right on. Because the 4th speed is an electric overdrive, so it still just has that same positions.
Oh, it's not a mechanical 4th gear?
Mm-mm.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
So this will...
Then we need to figure out how to get that from there to here. I think it just bolts in.
Yeah, it looks like it bolts. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We got it.
It's a good thing
We'll
to
keep it.
Okay, sweet. Well, let's build a battery cable together. Step 1, get your cable. This is 1 gauge. This is going to go from our battery all the way to the back of the truck to our winch. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide some shrink tube over it. You don't want to strip off so much that you've got wire sticking out to here. That's no bueno. Some people solder these connections together. Some people crimp and solder them. I just like to crimp them. Because I have this tool. And it's a magnificent tool. That's about what I want. Alright, so it's got dies that you can put in here. And these dies are rated in millimeters, which I don't usually speak millimeter, ever. So I don't know what 240 millimeter equates to. I just know it's giant. And so I'm going to put that right there. Put our pin back in there. Turn the dial to on. And there we go. Alright. Now it's all lined up. The wire's pushed in all the way up to the covering. And I'm going to hold the cable for a little while I'm doing this just to make sure it doesn't try to fall out or pull out. Eventually, we're just going to squeeze it down. You can see the dies are now touching. That means we're done. I lost a couple of braids there, but not bad. And if you look at it, it's squeezed all the way around there. And there's the test, right? Will it come out? Nope. I'll just cut off the excess there where I screwed up a little bit. And put some heat shrink over it. This is the greatest thing ever. So it opens up, right? You put the wire in there and you shut it. Slide your loom over it, like so. And this stuff came from Wire Care, but you can get, you know, all kinds of loom, and then you just pull it. We've got an arm wrestling match just happening right now. So allegedly Todd, I don't know if this is an Olympic sport or not, but allegedly Todd is an Olympic champion at
got a
arm
gold
wrestling.
medal.
A gold medal in, I think it was Toledo, Ohio, like 79. I don't know. That's just what he told me.
No, did not tell you that.
And
Will doesn't believe it.
Will doesn't believe it, and Will also thinks he can win. Which I like that. Never say die. Over the top. Come on. Which arm are you wrestling? Let's okay.
He's got some gun.
From
All
here
right,
to the
all right.
knuckles.
So here the knuckles is all right, 15 and 5/8.
Yeah,
And
see, we're close. Let's see.
here to the knuckles. 17. So a slight difference. I don't think it's really going to affect the outcome here. I don't. 1, 2, 3, go. Whoa! Oh, dude! We have. Oh my God! You came back like 3 times. I was inspired. I was like, let's finish the truck. Okay.
That was really good. I'm surprised. You're a lot stronger than I thought you'd be.
You're way stronger than I thought you'd be.
I was actually unimpressed with your strength.
I know.
I thought you would find it way
I
easier.
said you're unimpressive.
I told you I haven't worked out for a long time, and push-ups is not arm wrestling material.
Okay,
Give me a chance.
I might have this one.
All right, instant green. Go. Whoa! Whoa, dude, that was the baddest match I've ever seen in my life.
Awesome.
Like, it went both ways.
Well, you had a good one. That's good pulls.
I had to go, but I didn't have the endurance, man. I ran out of gas.
You nearly, like, if you would just, yeah, Stallone. Nice work.
Good job, Will.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
impressed.
build a truck now. Oh, big moment, big moment. We have gauges. Do they work? I don't know. But we have them. And having them, whether they work or not, is half the battle. I had to lower the column down a little bit to get the stock one out, which means this should go in. Alright, it's in there. I'm not going to bolt it yet because I don't know that it works, so let's... I'm not going to start the truck, it's too late. My family will tell me. Okay, left turn signal indicator. Right turn signal indicator. We got lights, we got lights. There's a high beams. High beam indicator works. Dude.
The gauges are lightening. Do you see them?
Yeah. I'd start it up, but it's midnight. All right, we come back in the morning, bolt it in, put the seats in it, and go drive it finally. It's late. We're tired. But I think the wiring's done. Absolutely done.
Massive project.
Good for hanging there, but that's temporary.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about these 12 valves. It takes one wire to run.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody was like, yeah, one wire, dude, you'll be on the road. And that was true. We started it with one wire the other night.
We started it 2 days ago, mind you.
Was it that long ago? Oh my god. So we started it 2 days ago with one single wire, which was
I
great.
just touched
but,
onto the battery terminal.
which is awesome. But we had no gauges. We had, nothing.
We didn't know what the oil pressure was.
Yeah.
Cruise, coolant
shift.
temp, tranny.
Right. So rather than go out there hot dogging and maybe blow the motor up, we spent the last 24 or 48 hours rewiring the whole truck to make sure everything was good. And this is temporary. I'm going to order a pillar. Somebody out there actually makes a pillar for these gauges. And this is temporary until I build a trans tunnel with a console to hide our HGM transmission controller and some of the other crap. Maybe a head unit for stereo. I'm using the area where the head unit for the stereo used to be for all of your guys' tuning stuff that I don't even know how it works. So tomorrow, test drive Burnouts. You guys show me how these knobs and buttons work.
Good plan.
Yeah. Sleepy time. I don't know if you remember this, but this had a 3-piece drive shaft wheel, and it had 2 slip yokes in the middle of it. And I went to a local driveline shop, told them what we were doing. The first guy was like, "What? Huh?" The second guy was a roadkill fan, and he got it. He's like, "Oh yeah, dude, they're gonna do Burnouts." So we eliminated one of the slip yokes and put in another U-joint right in the middle there. And so it's still a 3-piece drive shaft. It's the same tubing, but he upgraded all the U-joints. Grab it. The plot thickens because this is the car that I haul with the ramp truck. And it just arrived back from California because we were out filming. And I didn't expect it to be home this soon. So now this is here, and I'd like to take it to the drag strip and find out how fast it is because I just made a bunch of changes.
So what we're gonna do is he's gonna race the Ram truck, I'm gonna race the Blasphemy, and we're gonna see who wins. Testing tune. Sweet.
That sounds safe. Yes, let's do that. Okay, this is a 528 Gen 2 Hemi, all aluminum. It's fairly light for a Hemi anyway. It's Edelbrock heads, a blower shop 871 blower, Hillborn 4-port throttle body on top, puts about 900 to the tire at 13 pounds of boost, which is nothing in your world. But what I'm wondering, what I have questions about is, I run this motor at about 11.8 to 1 air fuel. That's where it's happiest, it makes good power, and it doesn't smoke. So where do you guys run yours, and is the smoke necessary to make big power?
It's not necessary to make big power, but if you have it clean and you add more fuel, it will pick up power. So you can have it clean and make big power, but you're leaving stuff on the table, you pound the table, because you just add some more fuel to it and it'll pick up power.
Because
So
really,
how much?
I think clean, what's about 18 or 20 to 1
This is gonna be a
is where it's
clean burn.
totally clean.
And big power is probably a similar ratio to you. What did you say, like 14, 15?
No, 11.8 to 1.
No, not compression, AFR.
That's what I'm talking about.
11?
11.8 to 1. This is a 10.5 to 1 air compression ratio.
Okay.
This makes best power at about 11.8 to 1 air fuel.
So
and
if
it
we're,
doesn't
that,
smoke.
if we're at that level, we're a heavy smoke.
Like there's a really heavy, like wet raw fuel coming out the exhaust almost at that.
So
we
you guys
actually-
are running 18, you said? 18 to 1?
That's going to be a clean burn. If we're making power, we're probably down, what, 14,
14 to
15,
15 is where they make peak power. Just,
Wow.
so
Yeah,
we're
so
leaner
you-
than you technically, but it's smoking like crazy because the fuel
Because
burns
the-
slower and
And the oil content in the fuel. Wow. Okay.
I have a good move.
So we still have the big hole in the floor of the firewall, so I got a fireproof, fire retardant moving blanket. And it works, watch. Way quieter. So the moment I build a shield over this, my driving life gets much better. lifesaver. Summertime, dude. It's the only way to work out here. You know what blows my mind is most people think these things only work in like arid climates like Phoenix, Arizona, California. I'd wager it's 80 to 90% humidity out here and this thing's still working.
Super humid. Super nice.
I love it. It's a porticool unit. It's an evaporative cooler. Basically the way this thing works is, come over here, walk around the other side. It's got a water tank inside of it, an electric pump, and it trickles water down this membrane. And it's sucking air through the membrane, forcing it out that way, and keeping us from sweating to death. Kind of gives you that same effect of, like, get out of a swimming pool and the water evaporates off your skin and you feel a chill. That's what this feels like. And it works in there and out here. I love it.
Oil smoking. Whenever I pour the tank.
Alright, this says 30, that says 30. Speedometer is working 29 and 30. Plus? Speedometer is 1 mile an hour. No, yeah, crap. Dude, it's working.
We're testing it's working.
We have a speedometer.
We got success.
Yay!
Wrap it up. Let's go.
Second. Third. Fourth. And locked up. I went fourth and locked up immediately.
That's mine. I just changed that.
Wow, we're going 70, and I barely have my foot on the gas.
Trying to call you, but you wouldn't answer. And
Oh,
when
you
I
can't
went
hear-
like that to pull over,
Can't hear shit.
and then when I got to pull over, I was trying to tell you, but
God, were the brakes dragging the whole time?
I mean, it smelled like I was following a semi down a big hill out on the highway.
Oh, make a bigger gesture.
Sorry, I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, wave the hand.
A little aggressive after the fire stuff.
So this is Roadkill
Wow.
episode 48.
Yeah, then we just got road killed. So what does this mean? Well, the Cummins is in there. I'm sweating like I just ran a marathon thanks to that hole that's in the floor.
So hot.
Unbelievable amount of heat. A couple of gauges do not work. Apparently it looks like our front brakes are dragging. But other than that, it's in, it runs, it drives, the trans shifts through all the gears, and there's more work to do. I don't think I'm going to give you a burnout this episode. I think I'm just going to make you wait, because we probably shouldn't do burnouts with that.
Oh, of course we do.
Oh wait, actually no, I was wrong. You know what that
Yeah.
means? It wants to do the burnout.
Yes,
the front
it
brakes
wants-
are already
it wants
locking
it.
up. It's like we have a line lock. Okay, we'll do burnouts. And then
Good
expect more episodes about picking away at all the little issues this thing still has. Like the fact that I'm sweating to death from driving it.
That's so hot.
Holy
I
cow.
got burned my leg here. It's like I got like a fire. Like I think they're singed, man.
Alright, so I was about to jump in this thing and do a burnout when I realized Home Slice has a t-shirt. Essentially, this guy likes smoking tires. That's pretty much what that says. Where tires come to die. So I'm going to let him do the burnout. I'm going to give you that satisfaction because you worked so hard. Todd really didn't do much.
Nope.
But you, my friend, busted your butt. I'm going to shoot video for myself here. So.
Walk up.
I saw smoke.
That was walk up. Yeah. He's making sure everything works.
I'm stuffing my luggage in the car. Stop!
4.
Dude, I didn't know it would do all 4. When it was a gas engine, it just did 2.
Look at this. That's gotta be a couple hundred feet.
Oh, there's the neighbors. All right, that was it for this episode of Finnegan's Garage.
See you later. Next time.
I think he left us here.
That's
There-
alright. Go
there-
home. We'll go back to
There's the neighbors. Bye. It works! Wow. Yeah, got a few bugs to work out, but I'm impressed, man. I mean, seat of the pants, it feels faster than it was before. It feels like I'm barely giving it any throttle position to just maintain 70 miles an hour going down the road. So I'm excited to fix the thermal containment issues we've got with the hole in the floor and the firewall, and make a couple of gauges work, and then start hauling my race car again. So, see you guys.